Dallis told me to expect you. You must be as hard as diamonds and twice as bright to have come so far. But, if only I had known it was you. Your divine welcomes you.
Surprise!
Lucian frowns at the figure, then bestows a benevolent smile upon you. All that you know of him flashes across the panorama of your mind. You open your mouth to speak.
I underestimated you, Godwoken. You have proven to be a formidable foe. You have my respect.
Respect, indeed.
Lucian's gaze rests upon you and goes through you. He takes your measure entirely.
Lucian, we should tell the Godwoken the truth.
Yes, I agree. It is time we dropped our masks.
Dallis nods, then reaches for the sides of her head. Where there was one face, suddenly there are four. She takes off the mask of the shapeshifter. A skull is revealed, bejeweled and ancient as the void.
I am eternal.
Surprise, surprise.
Fear not, Godwoken. Dallis is on the side of all that is good. She is helping me rid Rivellon of the influence of the Source. Listen to her.
I shall tell you the tale as I told it to Lucian. Long ago, the scholar Fane discovered that the veil between the world and the void was made of Source. Our 7 lords desired this power.
Of course.
Silence, slave. Our king forbade the 7 to reach for this power, but they didn't listen. Instead, they rebelled and sent the king and his people into the void.
With the Source, they stole from the Veil. The 7 created the races so they would have worshippers.
During their lives, worshippers collect Source. When they die, the gods feed from them. It's an ingenious system.
Our souls are nothing but vats for the Source-hungry gods.
The 7 made a mistake. By taking its source, they tore a hole in the veil, and it is through this hole that the void finds its way into our world.
The 7's lust for power let in the void. Our goal is to close the hole they created, to restore the source to the veil. When we are done, there shall be no more source in the world. No more gods, no more worship, no more war, no more chaos, no more demons, no more Voidwoken. Rivellon will have peace at last.
My people cannot be allowed to return from the void. They are tarnished. They are Voidwoken. They can only bring chaos and death and...
There is more, but she hesitates to share it. Then she decides that she must.
I was but a child when the war started. The king, in his fury, separated my family and scattered us across the world to be entombed. He did this because it was my father who gave the 7 the secret of the veil, against the king's explicit instructions. Ironically, the king's punishment is what saved me from the void. Only a very few Eternals escaped banishment. Myself, my mother, and Fane. Yes. Fane is my father.
What? No. It can't be. Everything Dallis did. It was all you. Child.
Everything I did to fix your mistake. Our people, every purged sorcerer, every dead magister, all those weeping families. They're on your head, father. And now, in my mother's name and my own, I take my revenge on the king and the 7. Did you even look for me, father?
Dallis, control your emotions. Our purpose transcends your personal wounds.
You are right.
Dallis has her reasons, as you can see. I seek peace for Rivellon, and for myself. Her ambitions align with my own, and I always believed the goal justifies the means.
During the war, the real Dallis found my tomb. I took her place and quickly realized that Lucian was the key to my vengeance. And I was the key to the salvation of Rivellon.
While Dallis sought the Eterran, I started draining the gods of their source.
Slurp, slurp, slurp.
One more word from you, and I shall use the leash.
I had to hide from the gods. So I had the walls of this crypt equipped with tenebrium, and protections put in place. It worked. Everyone, even the gods, thought me dead. As divine, I was created, empowered to stop the void. I was the avatar of the Seven, their strength and their weakness. My bond to them allowed me to drain them of their source.
Maggot! I am no slave.
With a flick of her wrist, Dallis sends a jolt through Braccus's body. He writhes in pain.
He is but a tool. I used him to find the Eterran. When we are done, I will release him from his duty. I will free him from his pain. Indirectly. When the Death Fog was unleashed, many elves died. With fewer elves to worship him, Tyr's Sandilius weakened. This gave the God King his first real foothold back in the world. To strengthen himself, he sent his Voidwoken, the remnants of my people, to hunt down the sorcerers seeking to reclaim their source.
We turned the appearance of Voidwoken to our advantage. To fix the veil, all source needs to be removed from the world. Blaming the sorcerers for Voidwoken made them easier to capture.
The Eterran now contains almost all of the source the Seven stole. Soon, we will be able to heal the veil.
The void shall be banished, and I, Lucian the Divine, shall return from the dead. A false divine, of course. I shall have no power. But the world will not know this. I shall demand peace, and we shall have it.
The plan is almost complete.
We have made so many sacrifices, Ifan. All of us. Of ourselves and those we love. One last sacrifice is required for the future of Rivellon. You must surrender your source.
Decide. Be the true hero and give up your source, or be forced to submit. Like a coward. Like a slave.
There is no other way. The source of the world is required to close the veil. All of the source. We only lack yours. Ifan, my friend, these were sacrifices that had to be made. You were but one. Each of them pained me, but I would make them all again. I made so many sacrifices, Ifan. And now, so must you. Alexander was Godwoken. Once, years ago, I should have killed Damien, but instead took him as my son. Quite the mistake. Now I was forced to kill Alexander, my blood. But once more, I could not.
The task fell to me.
And me.
We already had more than enough Godwoken.
Another sacrifice I was forced to make. Those beautiful people. I was as kind as I could be. I promise you that.
Then let us proceed. Show some responsibility, Father! Surrender your source!
Sealing the veil will lock our people away forever. they will never be free of the void. Though if they return, what becomes of this world?
Fane turns to you. In all the time that you've traveled together, you've never seen him like this. He's trembling with emotion.
And you, my fellow adventurers. Together we have seen more than generations of mortals could ever see. You have seen the horrors of the void, and I have seen this world through your eyes.
You'll be a hero. Everyone will know of the sacrifice you'll make. Your name will be synonymous with the survival of Rivellon.
Don't let them do this to us!
But our souls? There has to be another way.
No. Never.
Good.
Yes, very good.
She raises what looks like a leash. A chuckle emerges from beneath the cloaked figure's hood. The chuckle becomes a guffaw, booming and hateful. Dallis flicks her wrist, and nothing happens.
Surprise. Surprise. Surprise.
How? What? The leash is cut!
A bright observation from a bilious imbecile. You know people often become sloppy when they're close to achieving their dream. You left the leashing wand next to me, you stupid maggot. So accustomed had you become to me, pretending to be your slave.
Kill him.
Do shut up, you tedious buffoon. And don't look so surprised. As if I would allow a bone bag to enslave me. Me! You should have listened to Tarquin, you worm-ridden wench. Nobody enslaves Braccus Rex. I am Braccus Rex. I am the Source King. Braccus Rex, you ignorant dog. Braccus. I am the one true king of the Source. He who shall be god of the Source. It is time for my divinity! Or did you really think I'd play slavishly along with your ridiculous scheme, Dallis? Yes, I played my part of the servile stooge. But know this. It was only about the power of divinity.
Kill him. Now.
Too late, you mouldering, blight-stained pigs. Grant me power, my ally. God King, I call on you! You dare interrupt Braccus Rex? How novel. Who are you to challenge the Source King? Ah! You were the fetid dirt on my boot. You are nothing at all. I am the Source King. I shall rule.
My ally sends me a pet. What a fitting gift. Ruling the world with a bloody fist can be... I need a companion. Come to your friend. Come to the Source King.
Braccus Rex, the Source King of Legend, lies dead once more, perhaps even for good. Dallis groans and looks to you with weakened eyes.
I have failed. The future of all that is rests on your shoulders.
This is it. I can hardly believe it.
She casts her gaze around the crypt in awe.
After everything we've been through, after everything we've seen, here we are. Here I am. And now that I see godhood before me, I know what I have to do. Chief, you need to ascend. There's no one I would trust with this responsibility but you. I know you'll do what needs to be done, what ought to be done. And I know you'll do it with style.
Her eyes flash and sparkle with tears. She quickly wipes them away and feigns kicking you down a road.
Back at you, Chief. Always. Now go on, shoo. You've got business to attend to.
Well then, this is, as they say. I never dreamed that after all this, I would be standing here with one of your kind. Let alone that I would be proud to do so. I cannot imagine someone I would trust more with divinity, including myself.
Fane lays a bony hand on your shoulder, squeezing gently.
Do you know, I believe you will.
Here we stand, once more on the cusp of divinity. But this cup, so long thirsted for, I willfully let it pass from me. All my life has been a lead-up to this, to be the King of Kings, God of Gods. I will not say it was in vain, but I will say it was vanity. If I were to chance upon my throne right now, I would sit down beside it, cast my glance to the horizon, and think of worthier things. I'd think of Sadher, my great love. I'd think of my children, their joyous dance through fiery skies. And of course I'd think of you, of the adventures we had, of our unlikely yet heartfelt friendship. Yes, I'd sit there, thoroughly contented, and wait for you to ascend the throne. I know.
A mischievous smile.
But I do have to add, likewise.
You think back on your journey here, on all you have seen, on how the Magisters hunted sorcerers who committed horrible crimes, and purged sorcerers who only tried to heal the sick. You think of how the Eternals unleashed void-woken horror on the world in an effort to reclaim it. You look at the source around you. You know that within your reach is divinity. You think of what you could do with such power. Seeing the vast quantity of source in front of you, you think you should be able to handle a couple of void-woken. You think of your personal problems. It's time to make a choice. A choice that decides the fate of Rivellon, and of you. Where do you stand? After all that you have been through, and all that you have done, all that you have become, the Aetheran lies in front of you. Divinity is yours to take. Or to sacrifice. What you do next decides your own fate, and the future of the world. What shall you do with divinity?
And so it ended. A tale that began with my own ill-fated attempt to rid the world of the Godwoken. Dallis the Hammer, the secret Eternal, purged the Godwoken and used the Source to close the veil to the void. The world was saved. Statues in memory of the Godwoken who sacrificed their Source were erected all across Rivellon. They would never be forgotten. The half-demon Malady took pity on the soulless, god-woken silent monks and brought them to the Hall of Echoes. There, from the scraps of their souls that remained, she restored them to life. Sorcerers no more, they lived out the rest of their lives, freed of the burden of being the god-woken. Freed from the weight of the world. As for me, the god-woken sacrifice severed the link that bound the sworn to the God King. I was finally free. To atone for my sins, I spent the rest of my days taking care of the sick and elderly, telling the story of the god-woken, that the world may never forget the greatest heroes Rivellon had ever seen.
Malady stands tall and proud, sunlight sparkling off her mask. From here she looks almost angelic.
Well, here we are again. You, me, and the ship I've saved from ruin for your personal benefit. I'd say you owe me, but why state the obvious? Ah, there you are. More than a silent monstrosity, less than a god. In the end, I'm not totally convinced it was worth my while to restore your consciousness, seeing what you've done with it so far. Where did I go wrong? Ugh. I'd been counting on sacrificing my health and happiness for a future god, you know, not a silent monk in waiting. Never mind. I'll find another way. I always do.
She fingers the mask covering her face. For a moment, it seems as though she's about to remove it, but instead, she places a hand on your shoulder.
We've come a long way together. I did my best by you all the way. Sacrificed much. And I'd have given even more to see you fulfill your destiny.
She looks you up and down.
I guess this will have to do. Take a moment, why don't you? Relax. Enjoy. I certainly plan to do the same. Oh, I don't know. Around and about. Treat myself to some mead, a lover or 300. I'd say we've earned it. Perhaps our paths will cross again. Perhaps not. Until we find out.
Well, well, look what the cat dragged in. A silent monk. At least that's what you'd be if it weren't for Malady. Like I would about the return of the codpiece, that it's highly unfashionable. The man's a man, all too prone to the weaknesses of the heart. We've seen the results of his errors firsthand. I give it a week before he errs anew. Yes, well, that's to say, that's love, not... All right, you made your point. Besides, Lucian. Perhaps even a god deserves a second chance, even if he is a god without powers. As for myself, I'm counting on a second chance as well. Why, I mean my empire, of course. I intend to go home as soon as I can. After all, I've dragons to raise. I need to teach them to be good boys and girls before they set the entire world on fire. There may be an accident or two along the way. Can't be helped, I'm afraid. I do so long to see my palace again. The Forbidden City. The scents of spices and incense. The sound of sitars in far-off rooms. To sit all day in perfumed shade and watch the white of the marble change with the journey of the sun. But above all, I long to be with Sadher. Long to finally have the time to love. Oh, but before you go, remember how when we first met, I took you by the jaw to inspect your teeth? Not something one forgets in a hurry. Now, if you'll recall, as per your own testimony, you can cook, but alas, you lack a sense of fashion, and you've little or no regard for personal hygiene. Far from ideal. Still, I'm nothing if not a tolerant man who believes in individual growth. I'm sure the journey taught you much. As such, I'd like to offer you what I denied you before, the opportunity to become my slave. What say you? Well, that's settled. You're very welcome to my house indeed. We'll feast and reminisce. But in the meantime, my boots are not going to clean themselves.
I always thought that those who resorted to self-sacrifice were lacking in imagination. But I must admit, that was rather noble of you. A world without source is one that will need individuals of wit and intellect. A sharp mind is the only magic now. I believe I shall enjoy this new world very much. That is the question, isn't it? How does one top the greatest feat of necromancy ever conceived? I might have the answer to that. Tell me, have you ever heard of Gustafjan? No, of course you wouldn't. It's a written language, unreadable to most, but myself naturally. It comes from a mysterious race from another world, beings that feed on minds. I intend to seek them out. This Gustafjan seems to guard portals to their realm. And once I've uncovered one, well, why settle for being the greatest mind in just one world, and there's another for the taking?
The spirit of Sabine.
You are a very, very, very lucky person. If Malady hadn't restored us, I'd be a drooling monstrosity, but a vengeful one. The realm is a lot more robust than some people give it credit for. It's probably survived much more than we'll ever even know. Get loot, play loot, get loot, get glad. So, Chief, I guess this is it, right? Well, I mean, you can always come with me. I mean, I'm just saying, it's an option. If you want, maybe? I still love you.
As she turns from you, the whites of her eyes darken, the veins in her face go grey, and a wicked smile curls her mouth. Suddenly, it's gone again. She winks, and you're left wondering whether you saw anything at all.
See you around.
Fane is reading a volume of Cranley Hubert's famous encyclopedia. He leafs through it slowly, muttering to himself.
I see. Intriguing.
He glances up at you, big, empty eye sockets taking in every detail.
Well, well, there you are. Another fine specimen of your kind. A little leaner than when we first met, and a little less divine than you'd hoped, I imagine. As do I, it seems. Whatever that life might be.
Fane looks back down to the book, a bony finger running across the embossed leather cover.
It could have been different, you know? I could have saved them. I could have found a way. No. I imagine you can't. I imagine no one can. But the cards were dealt, and my people got snake eyes. Or something. I never took the time to learn how the average Rivellonian entertained themselves. Then again, you are no average Rivellonian. Not after this. So, what do you think you'll do, now that we live in a source-free world? I never thought I would wish for silence again after the tomb. But I rather agree. I hear there are some nice beaches in Rivellon, though. Fort Joy is probably lovely this time of year.
The skeleton hefts Hubert's dog-eared encyclopedia, its weight heavy in his hands.
I've been rereading this book, looking over your history once again, poring over every detail with a new perspective, and do you know what? It's shit.
Fane tosses the book over his shoulder. It flutters in the air as it sails over the ship's railing and disappears with a faint splash.
If you have spent your life staring at a thing, you can write about it with knowledge. You can write about it with love. But it is almost impossible to write about it with wonder. You creatures have spent your lives trudging about this world, and you've grown blind to its miracles. Simply that to see the true beauty of a thing, sometimes you have to look at it as an outsider. As someone with fresh eyes, if you will. Take otters, for example. Energetic, waterproof cats, utterly beautiful creatures. Or octopuses. Did you know they're secretly octopuses? Octopi? Octopods. I shall have to look that up. Regardless, the world is filled with absolutely incredible sights. And who better to catalogue them with the awe they deserve than someone seeing them for the first time? Ah, finally. You're right about something.
Fane nods curtly and turns away, notebook in hand.
There's nothing interesting down there. The future lies above, not below.
The purging that once silenced you remains on your mind as you approach Gareth. You are grateful for Malady's miraculous touch. Without it, there would be no you.
Amazing I'm still here. That you're here. And that you might still speak. That Lucian... I only did what I was meant to do. I don't deserve thanks. I gave only the bare minimum, and still I strayed quite far.
Gareth shakes his head vigorously in response to his own emotions.
Self-pity is as dangerous as any man I have battled, Alexander included. In this new world, this world without the seven gods, it's a foe I plan to defeat for good. I find a way to fit. I wasn't just content to lurk in Lucian's shadow. I was his shadow. Now I stand in the sun as my own man. I just don't know who that man is. And so I find out. My goal is to have a goal, if that makes sense at all. And if it doesn't, well, that's all I've got.
It gives me almost as much pleasure to speak to you as it does to be whole again. I will always be an ally to those that carry swords, to those whose blood is of the heroes of old, and so, as always, I am at the ready.
You look out to the endless beyond. The sun's light plays upon the waves, just as it always did. The sails flutter in the wind, just as they always will. And yet, something is different. You are different. And with a start, you realize where you must go next. You speak the command to the Lady Vengeance, and another chapter begins. At last, the world was at peace. As the races united behind Lucian, Arx remained the center of power. The ancient Lizard Empire opened its gates. The houses disbanded, and the Empire adopted a pluralist quasi-democracy. anyone could vote for whoever they pleased, as long as the House of Shadows approved. With their queen dead and the Voidwoken gone, the dwarves held the greatest party in the history of dwarfdom. A new king took the throne, the local brewer. 6 days later, he was stabbed to death with a mutton fork. Lucian made amends to the elves. He gave them lands and vast riches from the coffers of the old divine order. But the elves never forgave him. They would not trust humans again. And in a dark forest on the far side of a desert, well beyond the high seas, the Black Ring came together once more. The island of Fort Joy, the old redoute of the Source King Braccus Rex, was turned over to the people of Driftwood to use as they wished. They turned it into a holiday resort. Reaper's Coast prospered. The fisheries returned, and the fertile farmlands produced the greatest harvests the surviving farmers had ever seen. Blood Moon Island became particularly fecund, its soil producing the greatest crops. A particularly crimson-fleshed orange grown on the island became a delicacy across half the world. The Black Pit took fire. The oil there burns still. Driftwood became a centre of industry, trade, and transport. Lohar the dwarf became mayor. His time in office was cut short by an unfortunate wound that spontaneously appeared on his neck. Lagan left his over-demanding wife and began a relationship with a local bard. In the spirit of loving generosity, he returned the ring to his now ex-wife. In a fit of rage, she threw it into the sea. You would never forget Dorothea's kiss. Dorothea herself left Driftwood for the ancient empire, ever in search of the perfect kiss. She never found it, although once or twice she came close. The nameless isle had vanished. Although only open water remained, by instinct ships would steer clear. None of the captains could articulate why. Arx became a great metropolis, famed for its prosperity, its culture, its diversity, and the willingness of its denizens to stab each other in the back for the slightest advantage. Sir Gareth thanked the surviving Seekers for their service and gave them their freedom. Disillusioned with peace, he set out alone to find a new purpose. He would never stop seeking. Young Han went into the theatre and became one of the realm's most popular actors. With no new divine, Malady found herself in a predicament. She had an important problem to solve, but no ally strong enough to call upon, and so her search continued. Having performed the greatest act of necromancy in history, Tarquin found the new world unchallenging. He became obsessed with rumors of another plane of existence. One day he vanished and was never seen again. Ahu the Wizard became one of Lucian's most trusted advisors once more. He always knew that something had changed in the Divine. He never discovered what that was, or, if he did, he never said a word. With Amadia silent, the priestess Gratiana left the swamps and re-entered the world. She founded an abbey in the Dragonspine Mountains, offering the last of the undead shelter from fortune hunters, novelty seekers, and ghouls. With Lucian in power, Sahala took the elves away from the world. They grew strong once more amidst the trees of the regrown home forest. Some say her plans for revenge will bring about the end of days. Some say only Tova, her mother, holds her back. Lucian returned as Divine, united the races, and became Lord Emperor of all Rivellon. Only Dallis knew that he was entirely powerless. Dallis and you. The Eternal, now known as Dallis, was a secret advisor to Lucian and to his successors. For eons she would walk in the world, and would outlive the peoples and all, and wander alone amongst the dying stars. His run-in with his daughter set Fane on a new path. He travelled Rivellon, recording the wonders he discovered, but always kept a socket peeled for signs of the Eternals. He hoped to find the wife he'd lost, but he never did. Then again, he's still looking. The Red Prince came home a hero. With Sada, he had more dragons. Soon, Prince became Emperor, one who would not use his dragons for conquest. His realm knew peace, and the world did not burn. Lohse returned to her music and enjoyed a storied career as Rivellon's premier musician. Dark moods would at times overtake her, and she would spend long hours walking in the wilds. She always returned with a new song. And then there was you. You returned to the world as one more human among many. Your future was yours to decide. Did you accept your new status with humility, or did you rebel? Only you know the truth. Only you know if you atone for your sins.